So you referenced AI earlier, and I want to talk about Sam Altman and um, his rise as a key figure in artificial intelligence. It's led to many questions. Who's pulling the strings behind OpenAI? How do you see, again, AI fitting into the shadow government's agenda and the CIA's?
Richard, it's scary. I mentioned the CI, the new CI Directorate of Digital Innovation, which will be using AI. And I guarantee you, if they have not already, they've approached Sam Altman. Now, when they do these contracts, they offer them sometimes billions of dollars, but it's a covert secret contract, so nobody can talk about it, including the recipient. I guarantee you, they've approached Altman. We'll we'll see if the evidence that comes out about that. But I know the CIA, and I know how they operate well enough. They probably already talked to Altman about the CIA's use of that. Sam Altman, I think, is concerning. He and Elon Musk started out at ChatGPT, which it eventually became, as an open source um, AI information system for everybody to use it for researchers and gathering and education and everything. And the reason Musk left Altman, and they're basically enemies now, is Altman wound up taking it into the profit margin, and Musk wanted to stay as kind of an open source service, essentially to the world. But Altman took it into a revenue stream. And Altman claims he didn't make any money. He has no assets in ChatGPT, although according to Musk, he's made at least 10 million bucks in his pocket. And there's probably more, but Musk verified that Altman's already made $10 million. The problem is Altman went out of control, and this whistleblower that just died, let's put it that way, he blew the whistle, stating that the problem with Sam Altman and his version of ChatGPT was they were claiming that they were using the fair use doctrine to gather all the digital information that they were putting into ChatGPT, and in doing so, they were violating the U.S. copyright laws of all the data and information that they were scooping up from other companies and putting it in ChatGPT. And that's why Satir Balaji, this whistleblower, that's why he came out publicly and blew the whistle, because they were violating U.S. Copyright Act and scooping up everybody else's data for their own benefit.
Right. And Suchit Balaji's mother, again, recently on Tucker Carlson, just imploring people to understand that this was not a suicide. Suchit told his mother, if anything happens to me, it's not
Yeah,
suicide. The crime
yeah.
scene, photos of the crime scene, unfortunately, are all over social media now. And,
Mhm.
and I believe his mother hired her own investigator to do an autopsy. The findings were
Good.
totally different than the official version. I mean, we
Yep.
have county coroners. I mean, how does that work? Where the CIA in Washington or wherever they are can reach down to the county level and force a coroner to to fill out a death certificate in a certain way. I mean, how do they exert that control at the local level?
Oh, and that's one of the most outrageous things I write about in my book. The CIA has all kinds of ways to scare people into doing what they're doing. For example, the Los Angeles Police Department, going back to the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, in which the CIA was involved, the LAPD was then and still is being trained by the CIA. And the CIA has got its hooks in the LAPD. And with the JFK assassination and those autopsies, the CIA has a very powerful way to come in and sit down. I know it because they tried it with us, sit down and scare the daylights out of somebody. The FBI can issue a national security letter, or the CIA can claim it's a counterintelligence case, and you need to issue these findings, or we'll have our own doctor standing by. They have suicide is the CIA's preferred way of murder, and I know that personally. I mean, they tried to take me out essentially, but we're not so far. We're not successful, but it doesn't matter now because that cat's out of the bag. So that's why I'm safe. Anyway, they can do it. I was about to roll since I published Twilight of the Shadow Government without the CIA's approval on purpose because I proved they black out information that covers up their criminal activity. So I published it anyway after they sat on it for 3 months. I've already received my first threat, which I think I'll frame and put on the wall. But what the CI is going to try to do in my case, for example, is they're going to try to take all the royalties, my royalties from the book Twilight of the Shadow Government. Now, okay, whatever. That's not why I wrote it. I don't care. But I was going to roll all of my book royalties over into a trust fund so it went to my kids and not me. All of a sudden, the lawyer has disappeared and gone. And it's been 4 months and they can't seem to find it. Here we go again. They one simple phone call. This is a national counterintelligence case. We want you to instruct you what to do for the sake of national security, on and on and on. Or the FBI comes in with a national security letter, slaps it on a supervisor and says, give us all the data on your employee without probable cause, without any evidence of a crime. They have to turn that personal information over to the FBI, and then they're ordered, if they say anything about their visit, they go to jail. That's the kind of power these people have. And that's one of my missions, is to dismantle that power over the American people. But that's how they get in and manipulate these things.
The term suicided, is that something that you heard while you were on the inside of the CIA, that someone was suicided?
Uh, no, I didn't, because of course that's something that's going to be compartmented at the higher levels. Excuse me, but they tried it on me.
Mhm.
There's two ways they can do it: a lethal injection with non-traceable chemical, a car accident, the favorite, a plane accident where there's no evidence. But what their favorite is to try to destroy that person and drive them to do it themselves. Like, for example, maybe Gary Webb, although he was shot twice in the head, not once.
San
But they
Jose
have a
Mercury,
system,
sorry, just for those not familiar with Gary
yeah,
Webb, San Jose Mercury News
right,
ran a series of stories about how the CIA were selling meth and crack in the inner cities as part of a drug and gun running operation.
right, which was absolutely true. And they ruined his career. They ruined his career with the paper. They ruined his finances, his health insurance, his income. His wife couldn't take it, so she left and took the kids. They put him down to a beat, I think, like covering traffic violations. This was after a meeting with the CIA where they threatened him not to go any further. And then they found him in a hotel room with two bullets in his head. A suicide. Yes, they do that. Now, they prefer to push the person to a suicide. And very quickly, in my case, what they did was they blocked my retirement funds, thrift saving plan funds, which is a felony. They blocked all of my hardship loans with the Northwest Federal Credit Union, the CI credit union, so my family could survive after I came out and blew the whistle. They destroyed those from the server. They raised the interest rates on all my cars and then threatened repossession. They blackballed me and called some supervisors that I worked with on successful programs, told them not to hire me, pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and tried to push me to the point where I'd break. That's their favorite. And I have a whole program on Where Are the Whistleblowers, where I go into exactly the system they use to drive a person to do that. And it's the ultimate murder. It didn't work for me because I happen to be a person of faith. And I believe in that there's more than just this life. So they were able to pull that on me, and they know that. That's why they don't really like people of faith in the CIA, because they don't tend to be as afraid of them as the rest of the public. But suicide's it's their favorite, because it's a difficult crime to prove, and unless even some of the chemicals that they use, just touching the skin, will kill a person.
Um, a very high profile supposed suicide was Jeffrey Epstein, who died while under custody. Very suspicious circumstances, although there seems to be this pattern. All of a sudden, the security cameras were not operating. For those who remember the details surrounding the assassination or the tragic accident, whichever, of Princess Diana, the security cameras in the bridge or in the tunnel were not operating.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Epstein's death? If it was murder, who do you think is behind that? Is that CIA as well? Does it have the hallmarks of a CIA hit?
It sure does. And what I'm about to say is just factually and documented. Jeffrey Epstein was a CIA Mossad agent running a blackmail operation on behalf of Israeli Mossad and CIA, which do work together on programs. I interacted with the Mossad a little bit in Israel. He was a CIA Mossad asset, and a very high profile one that had gathered a lot of information on a lot of very important people that could be blackmailed. Now, William Barr, as you remember, was the attorney general at the time overseeing his case. The first time Epstein was cleared of trafficking charges, if you remember, he got off and they let him go the first time. I think they put a monitor on his leg and he was able to go in the office all day, every day. And they didn't prosecute him under William Barr for human trafficking because the attorney general of that state said that he had received a call from the government, from the agency, that Epstein was an intelligence asset and to leave him alone. That's a fact. I'm trying to remember the name of the attorney general who did that and then dropped the case. Maybe it'll come to me. Anyway, he was told that Epstein was an intelligence asset and to leave him alone. So that's how he got through his first trial. Second trial, they couldn't do that. Of course, he got arrested and put in jail. William Barr, still in charge of Epstein's case. William Barr is a longtime CIA operative, which nobody knew, at least until some of us recently have come out. A longtime CIA operative, going all the way back to when he graduated from his Ivy League school. He's been CIA from the beginning. He's one of the shadow government ones I think that Trump didn't realize who he was bringing on. William Barr oversaw Epstein, never checked in to see how, this was one of the highest profile cases in US history. Barr ignored the case, didn't call regularly to see Epstein's condition. The warden of the prison didn't bother to check on Epstein's condition. He should have been checking every single day, but he didn't. And all of a sudden we have all these coincidences. And I can tell you, after where I've been and what I've seen, very, very rarely is two or three events just a coincidence coupled together. The cameras go out, the guards are asleep, and on and on and on we go. That's like the paper passport they found on the street after the plane hit the building in 9/11, proving a terrorist is on board. They'll put out these ridiculous stories, tell them enough times, and then they'll just stop, knowing people will go on with their lives and it will go away. Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. The CIA was involved. I'm convinced that William Barr knew about it. He was involved. And what William Barr did with the warden of that prison, instead of demoting him, he promoted him, moved him out to be a regional director of a prison system. No question about that. That was a CIA hit. Epstein was murdered. I have no problem saying that because the facts line up exactly to show that.
And was he, excuse me, was he murdered because they were concerned or afraid that he was going to name names in exchange for some clemency on the witness stand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just look at his plane manifest. William Jefferson Clinton, who we know has been affiliated with the CIA since Mena, Arkansas, and the running of cocaine, no question about that. Had a relationship with George H.W. Bush, one of the most dark figures that we've ever had in our government, longtime CIA operative. And Epstein had a lot of information on William Jefferson Clinton, for sure, and other intelligence assets, for sure. And if he was going to trade that information for his life, which he probably would have done, it would have brought some people, high-level people down, even beyond Bill Clinton, others would have brought them down, and they had to eliminate him. And I'm absolutely convinced that's what they did.
The blackmail videotapes for this honey trap operation, do you believe they still exist? Who has them? And do you think that President Trump will be good to his word to, and, Kash Patel, who's slated to become the next FBI director and so forth, Ratcliffe at the CIA, will they release this information? Will they name names, open the files?
Well, sadly, it's like MK Ultra. With MK Ultra, they got a few documents that the CIA let slip out on purpose. Richard Helms destroyed the other 10,000 MK Ultra documents. And you remember that mysterious big explosion on Epstein Island that blew a whole kind of corner of the island off? What do you suppose was in there and in that vault? These people destroy this stuff immediately. And I remember being in the CIA and Iran-Contra, all that data, poof, gone. So yeah, I'm sure Trump would try. I'm sure Kash Patel would try, and I think that's awesome. But they don't keep records of these things. They found out that, for example, Oswald was a CIA asset, not from CIA records, because they destroyed all those just after JFK was killed. They found it in an accounting office in Japan that had accounting for Oswald, a 201 file being paid by the CIA as an asset. That's how they found out Oswald was a CIA asset, just kind of indirectly. But all the documents that the CIA had, they destroyed. So It's going to be really difficult to get the information Epstein had. If it wasn't destroyed in that explosion, it's probably destroyed some other way. We all hope they do, but I think the chances probably are slim.